Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
Okay, so just 2 more minutes. We'll start at 12:05. Hoping to the students can join. Okay, let's start. So, continuing on convex functions only. So let's look at some of the properties of convex function, which are useful also in defining convex function. So let's say I have a function fx equals to x square for mod of x less than 1 equals to 2 or mod of x equals to 1. Now, what we have learned so far, can we say this function is convex? So let's try to draw this curve. So what is the set S on which it is defined? Can somebody tell me? What is the set S on which this function is defined?
-1 to +1.
It is defined over -1 to +1. Now how does function looks like? Is this correct?
So there will be no straight line, like, because it is defined from -1 to 1 only.
Good. So instead of this, it will be just is something like this. Okay.
Yes.
Now, is this function convex? So this property comes into handy. Convex and concave functions are continuous are continuous on the interior of their domain. So we can say discontinuity are allowed at the boundary. So what we are trying to say, convex or concave function may not be continuous everywhere. However, as far as interior of the set on which they are defined, they will be continuous. Does that make sense? Mathematically,
Yes, sir.
if we present it, we say let S be a non-empty. Let me use other color too. Let S be non-empty convex set in Rn and let F belonging to SR be convex. Then F is continuous on the interior of. So that is the one of the important property about the convex function's continuity. Next important thing is many a times when we are trying to find optimality criteria or computational procedure, we will see later when we try to solve using numerical methods, we need to understand the directional derivative or direction along which the function increases or decreases. That makes a lot of importance in which direction I should move. So there is concept of directional derivative of convex function. So even before I enter into directional derivative of convex function, do you guys understand what is directional derivative? What is directional derivative? Tushar has replied something. It's gradient, very right. So direction of the gradient. So in simple terms, when we talk about the convex function, so if directional derivative corresponds to the gradient, what does partial differentiability tells you? No, otherwise, if gradient is nothing but is related to directional derivative, what is the partial derivative related to?
Maybe, sir, along one particular direction, what is derivative? Like
So it is
that
called
gradient.
subgradient. So partial derivative is nothing but subgradient that we will be looking next. But before that, we will understand few more things. So as far as directional derivative is concerned, we define let SP green for writing theorems. Same definition, S belongs to Rn, F belongs to S to R. There is a point X bar which belongs to set S, and D is a non-zero vector such that X bar plus lambda D belongs to S for lambda greater than 0 and sufficiently small. then the directional derivative of f at x bar along the vector d denoted by f dash x bar d is given by f dash x bar d equals to limit lambda in 0 plus in only positive values x bar plus lambda b minus fx bar divided by lambda. So what it is saying that suppose there is a set in n dimension and there is a function defined over the domain on S. Suppose I take a point x bar that belongs to S and a non-zero vector d such that x bar plus lambda d belongs to the set. For lambda 0 and sufficiently small, if you look at it, what we are really referring to kind of what it is a first order condition we are talking about. So the directional derivative of f at x bar along the vector d is denoted by this limit. If you remember this, what this is, first order condition. Remember, f dash x bar is f of x bar plus h minus fx bar divided by s. So instead of this x bar, we are taking a direction x bar plus lambda d. So what it says, if a function is convex, then this limit exists, or then the directional derivative at f at x bar in the direction d exists. This is what it is trying to say in very crude sense. If you want to look at more precisely, suppose if I draw a function like this. So help me. I want a directional derivative. This is my d vector. I want a directional derivative at x bar. How do I calculate it? Suppose this is my x bar. What exactly this term is trying to find? The slope. You agree?
Yes, sir.
This is what it is trying to find in direction of d, this slope. So how it becomes useful?
Sir, in 3D, this slope will be different for different directions.
Yes. But what do you know about gradient? When we talk about gradient, gradient is generally perpendicular to what? Or normal to? If I draw a tangent at this place, gradient is generally perpendicular to the direction of the function at that point. This shows what the generally gradient tells you about the function. This is the direction of ascent also. We'll look at it later. So if you move in this direction, the functional value will increase. This is what it is saying. But when I'm only considering about a particular direction d, then that is the directional derivative in that particular direction. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So this is about directional derivative. Next, we will look at the subgradient, which is more important for us. Insert pages. But before we get into subgradient, I remember when I was talking about convex functions, someone said something and I I kind of ignored it. I didn't talk about it at that time. That was about epigraph and hypergraph. Who has said this term when we were discussing how to say if a function is convex or not?
Sir, this is Abhijit. I told about the epigraph.
Okay, so epigraph and hypergraph. What when we started with Jensen equality, I didn't discuss this part because epigraph and hypograph becomes really important in terms of subgradients we talk about. So now we will talk about epigraph and hypograph. So if function, yes, yes, Tushar, I'm not sure what you want me to repeat. Tushar, you say, can you repeat, sir? What exactly you want me to repeat? So please type it. In the meanwhile, let me talk about the graph of a function. So we can define, fully describe the set x comma f of x such that x belongs to S in Rn plus 1 is called graph of the function. Okay, why Rn plus 1?
Because x belongs to Rn and fx is R.
So we have total n plus 1 dimension. So max direction is the direction of steepest ascent, which we say is the gradient at that point. Because when I talk about directional derivative, it can be in a particular direction. I want to find the direction which is perpendicular to the tangent at that point. That is the direction of steepest ascent. Okay, or the direction of ascent, in direction in which the function increases. Does that make sense? We'll come to that when we're discussing steepest descent method. So this is my graph. Okay, now if I draw, suppose this curve, let me bound it in 2 dimensions. So we define x comma y such that x belongs to S, y belonging to R if y is greater than equal to fx. We say it as a epigraph or epi of epi of f. Similarly, hypograph x comma y, where x belongs to S, y belongs to R, and y is less than equal to fx, then we say hypograph, or represented with hyph of f. So points above the graph of f is epigraph and below is hypograph. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So along this, we have a very interesting, theorem that let S be a non-empty convex set in Rn, and let F is Rn S to R or Rn to R. Then F is convex if and only if and only if AP of F is a convex set. See if it is true or not. Look at this example. Is this function convex? Is this function convex or not?
Yes, convex.
Now, look at the epigraph of this convex function and tell me whether it forms a convex set or not.
Yeah, epigraph is a convex
Yes, sir,
set.
it is convex.
Okay, what about, can we say the same thing about hypograph?
No, sir.
If you look at it, if you take any point, it will fall under this one. But if you look at the hypograph part, let me draw with that with red. So all of you can see that it is convex, epigraph is convex, but for hypograph
Yes.
it is not necessarily true. If I take a point here, one point here, it may be that the point will fall outside. So for a hypograph, it is not true. But if it is a convex set, if we can show a function is convex, if somehow if I can show that epigraph of F is convex set. Similarly, what can be said about the concave? Just look at the graph carefully and tell me.
Hypograph will be convex set.
Good. So if you draw a convex set, convex function, sorry. If you draw a convex function, concave function, and so which one is epigraph and which one is hypograph in this case? What is this? This area?
Lower one is epigraph
Epigraph.
and upper
It
one
is
is
always, see the definition, y greater than equal to fx. So always the upper part is apf and this one is hypo-f. So for concave function, everything remains same. F is convex, F is concave if hypo F is a convex set. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So I said before getting into the subgradients, I wanted to discuss the hypo and epigraph. The reason being, since for convex, AP of F is convex set, and for concave, hypo of F is convex set. This gives a lot of interesting results. They have supporting hyperplane, at points of their boundary. And these boundary actually hyperplanes, supporting hyperplanes leads to the notion of supporting hyperplanes leads to the definition of subgradients of convex function. So now we will look at the subgradient. So for subgradient, use other color. What it says is S in Rn non-empty convex set and F belonging to S in R be convex, then some eta is called subgradient of F at x bar belonging to S if Fx is greater than equal to Fx bar plus transpose x minus x bar x bar for all x belonging to S. You can write similarly for the concave, it will be greater than equal to or less than equal to. Convex मैं आता हूँ, concave अपने आप समझ में आ जाएगा. So let me try to explain this with the curve. Just give me 1 second, guys. I need to. So let's try this curve. Hold on, guys. Something wrong with pencil. So suppose I have a function like this. I'll try to show you some more things. Give me 1 second, guys. Pencil is behaving weird and I'm not able to draw. I want to draw a smooth convex function until here, and then there is small nick here. It is not really x square. Something like this. Are you able to understand the function I'm trying to draw? Okay, so there's small nick here, you can see. You guys are with me, right?
Yes, sir.
Let me give it a last try, if I'm able to draw it. Then okay, does it look, clear now? At least.
Yes.
So suppose, so it is a convex function, right? Based on whatever we have learned, or do you have any doubts?
No doubt.
Good. So if I want to draw, suppose this is my x bar, and if I'm trying to draw, try to find the subgradient in this x bar. How does it look like? Just a line tangent line at this one. You agree?
Yes.
This is nothing but your theta transpose. I have to draw one more point here. This is your x and this is your x bar. So if you draw this tangent, this is your fx.
So both you are writing x bar.
Sorry. This is x, some x, and this is x bar. So this height is your f of x bar, and this this part is your this eta t x minus x bar. Okay. So what we are seeing here, if you look at all the value of fx at this point, so this x, it will always be greater than fx bar plus eta transpose x minus x bar or not. Just look at it. This is the value of fx. So the subgradient, that line which you have drawn, it will always be below fx. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Anywhere in the convex function, if you try to draw, there is one point which I want to discuss, but anywhere you will draw, except this point I will discuss, the subgradient will always be below your what do you call function value. Does that make sense? Which is nothing but the supporting hyperplanes which we have discussed in the epigraph, right? Is this clear? Any questions about what is this theorem, which definition which we have written, what it is trying to explain it to you? Similarly, for concave, whenever you draw this type of subgradient, it will be always higher than the value of f of x at that point. So it becomes fx should be less than equal to fx bar plus the transpose x minus x bar for concave. Okay, when a function is differentiable, its gradient simply becomes the subgradient. So the directional derivative which we have talked about, the gradient simply becomes the subgradient at that point. But at this point, is this function differentiable?
No.
The function is not differentiable, right? Now the question is whether subgradient can exist or not. So if you look carefully, there are two curves that are, starting and ending at that point. You agree? So if I take this point as, suppose वहां पे x bar 1 ले लेता हूं. So एक तुम्हारा जो gradient बन रहा है वो because of this curve and one because of this curve. So if you really draw the gradient, one will be something like this and the another one will be something like this. Okay, so how do we define this? So this one will be f of x1 bar plus greater than equal to f of, sorry, I'm not writing, f of x, some x I have to write. Okay. So f of x is greater than equal to f of x1 bar plus, here we will have two subgradients. One is defined by epsilon 1 and x minus x1 bar. Similarly, I have another one of x1 bar plus. Okay, so maybe this one is for this subgradient and this one is the another line. Does this make sense? So we have two subgradients at this point instead of one. Okay, although f is not differentiable, but at this point f has two subgradients. So what the point I'm trying to make here is, if in this part, if you look at it at x1, f is differentiable or not?
Yeah, differentiable.
So when f is convex and differentiable, gradient is subgradient at x is its subgradient. But a subgradient can exist even when f is not differentiable. At x. So you see, if I try to find gradient in that point, it is nothing but, you know, a combination of subgradients, although it is not differentiable in that point. इसको और एक सिंपल एग्जांपल से अगर समझना चाहें, सपोज कर लो I have a function like this. F of x equals to mod of x. If I try to draw the subgradient of this function, so this function is at what point not differentiable?
At 0.
So if I try to draw the subgradient, it looks like this. Now, if you look at it, for x less than 0, what is the subgradient? Equals to -1. For x less than 0, del f(x) equals to 1 if x is greater than 0. But at x equals to 0, we have two gradients actually. Okay, so that can be described as x equals to some g of, or so del of f0, when I say del of f0 is -1 and 1. So to represent it, I can say del mod of x greater than or equals to some gx, where g is the subgradient, for all g. So all x which is satisfied if g belongs to -1. So the point I'm trying to highlight here is, even if function is not differentiable, subgradient exists. And when we say that what is the subgradient at that point, it is the family of subgradient, and it can be, like in this case, it can be represented by this kind of inequality. So that is the idea of subgradient in the case of convex function. I use one example from the book only, very interesting example. So suppose let f(x) equals to minimum of f1x comma f2x, where f1x equals to 4 minus mod of x and f2x equals to 4 minus x minus 2 whole square, where x belongs to, in both cases, x belongs to R. Can you draw these functions and tell me about the gradients and subgradients at different point? First, draw this function. Minimum of f1x comma f2x. So to define this, first of all, define this function f of x, how it looks, and then you can draw it easily. So how do we define this function? What is its value?
So for x less than 1, f2x will be there, and for x greater than 1, it will be f1x.
So x between 1 and 4, it is 4 minus x. You agree? Is the definition of fx clear? Is this correct? Very difficult to draw it on. See if we have drawn the function right or not. This is 0 and this is 4. This point is. Is this correct, guys? So where exactly is our function f? Is this correct? See carefully.
Yes.
So this is our function f. It is convex or concave?
Concave.
It is a concave function. So that is a very interesting exercise to prove also. So f is a concave function. Now, can you tell me its gradients at different point for this f? So this f has three things to define. X is less than 1 and x is less than 4, greater than 4, and x belonging to open interval 1 to 4. What is the gradient in this case and what is the gradient in this case? Can you please tell me? Not gradient, subgradient. So let's start with the easier one. If x between 1 and 4, what is the gradient? A subgradient? Eta equals to? I hope it is called eta only, right? This sign.
Minus.
What is eta equals to when it is x belongs to 1 to 4?
-1.
-1. You just need to differentiate this function, you get it. If it belongs to x less than, ideally what you are doing, if you look at it carefully, between 1 and 4, this is the curve which you are looking at. At x less than 1, you are looking at this curve, and x greater than 4, you are looking at this curve. So the other one. So can you tell me what eta can be written as? Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
So in both the cases, we have unique subgradient. You agree? What happens at x equals to 1 now? So one of the learnings from the, the subgradients we have seen, wherever it is differentiable, it will have unique subgradient. You agree?
Yes, sir.
But points like this,
Is that -2 x -2 or x -4? -2 into x -4.
-2 into x -2. Just you differentiate, 2 comes here, x -2.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what we have said that subgradient in terms of the epigraph, that there will be a supporting hyperplane, right? So you see the supporting hyperplane. So there will be unique supporting hyperplane. What happens at x equals to 1? Do we have supporting hyperplane? Like suppose if I'm here, if I draw a tangent. Okay, so there is only one supporting hyperplane. What happened at x equals to 1?
Two
We
supporting
have,
two supporting hyperplanes.
There are many supporting hyperplanes.
There are many supporting hyperplane. It can be this one, it can be this one, it can be this one. You can see all of them are supporting at that point. Do you agree? So we say that at x equals to 1, we have family of subgradient. How do we find that? So we write it as lambda del of f11 plus 1 minus lambda del of f21. If you plug in, you will get 2 minus 3 lambda for lambda belonging to 0, 1 closed interval. Does this make sense? So if you put lambda equals to 0, what it becomes? Which hyperplane it becomes?
F2.
Simply
F21.
F21. So FT1 will be something like this. If you put lambda equals to 1, it becomes the slope of the other line at 1. Similarly, we have such kind of interaction at 4 also, right? The curve is changing from F1, it is going to F2. So similarly for x equals to 4, you will get again in terms of lambdas, your subgradient at this point is -4 plus 3 lambda, where lambda belongs to it. So okay, so is the subgradient clear?
Yes, sir.
So if you have any question, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll proceed. Not proceed, actually, it is already over. So these things will be becomes very important when we talk about differentiable convex function. Even when function is not differentiable, you saw that subgradient can be obtained, and that can help us in identifying, based on the property, we can say a function is convex, or if we know that the function which we have got is showing all these properties, so we can say that it is a convex function. So this is how it helps, and more importantly, towards the when we derive the algorithms to find the solution for such problem. Okay, okay, Monica, Monigini. Okay, Monigini. Let me try to explain what is happening at this point. Let me insert pages. Okay, so my curve is looking like this. Just again something like this. So if this one was F1, this one was F2, or otherwise this was F2, this was F1, and F2 again. So if you look at this point, if you let me just look at the first F2 part. Whenever I take a point and try to draw a subgradient, I will have a unique subgradient at that point. But unique subgradient is nothing but in terms of the supporting hyperplane, there can be, suppose if I'm taking this function, this is the only supporting hyperplane or not at this point. You can in your chat box, you can I don't know if you can work parallelly. Okay, so this is unique. This is unique. Now look at this point. If I draw a subgradient like this, is it unique? There are families of subgradients here. There is not unique subgradient. All of them are supporting at this point. They are the supporting hyperplane. So instead of unique supporting hyperplane, what we have here is family of hyperplane. And what we did a kind of a convex combination here, lambda del f11 plus lambda del f21, where lambda belongs to 0, 1. So at extreme hyperplanes would be when it is 0, sorry, 1 minus lambda. When it is 0, I'm talking about f21 hyperplane, what it is giving. When it is 1, lambda is 1, I'm saying that the hyperplane created by the F2 is the supporting hyperplane. And in between, so let's say these are this one will be del F11 and this one be the del F22. Okay, so all the hyperplanes in between, not in this side actually. If these two are the extreme hyperplanes, all the hyperplanes passing through this will be your family of hyperplane that supports this point. Sorry, I have drawn it wrong in this direction only, which is not passing through it. Is this clear? So that is the idea of supporting hyperplane, and thus the family of subgradients there. Please confirm if it is clear to you.
Yes, sir.
This is lecture 5 material, no? Oh, I needed to export it anyway, basically. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll look at differentiable convex function and the how we can recognize a function whether it is convex or not based on what do you call Hessian matrix and all.